Hey everybody, Josh Collacchi here once again with RotoCurve, and we're here to discuss Week 7 quarterbacks on FanDuel. Week 6 was another great week in daily fantasy football, and it all started with the quarterbacks. We saw Tom Brady have a nice week. We saw some guys like even E.J. Manuel, with the sleeper pick at RotoCurve, had a nice week as well. So let's dive right into this week's quarterbacks and figure out exactly who we like. Carson Palmer is the first guy I want to look at, and I pretty much like him every week based on so far of his consistency, his production, and he's had some good matchups. Now, the matchup doesn't get any better than what Palmer has this week against the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens have allowed 11 touchdown passes in the last 5 games, and they've given up the most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks this season. Now, Palmer's been one of the more consistent options each and every week. He has 17 or more fantasy points or FanDuel points in each game this season. And if you go over to RotoCurve and you've looked at the daily fantasy sports tools, DFS tools, which as always are free, you can see that Carson Palmer leads the NFL in fantasy points per passing attempt. So considering the fact that he's very efficient at 0.68 fantasy points per passing attempt and the fact that they throw the ball a lot in Bruce Arians' offense, combine that with a good matchup, and Carson Palmer makes for one of the top plays of the week this week. The next guy I want to talk about is Phillip Rivers, and he's a guy that I will be using a lot in my cash games on FanDuel, simply because of his matchup and a bunch of other factors. He faces the Raiders at home in Week 7, and notoriously, Rivers in the Chargers offense usually tends to score a lot more points at home. Of course, the Oakland Raiders have allowed 2 touchdown passes in every game this season, except for one. And that was against Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos, whose passing offense has really been not good at all this year. Manning's arm doesn't seem to be able to push the ball down the field, and that offense is really not done too well. So considering the fact that the Raiders have allowed 2 touchdown passes in every other game, that gives you the sense that this is a good matchup for Phillip Rivers. Rivers has scored the 3rd most FanDuel points at quarterback among all quarterbacks available on this slate, and he's not the 3rd highest priced quarterback. So it tells you that he has a chance to be a good value, and considering the fact that they throw the ball a ton, he leads the NFL in passing attempts, it gives you the sense that he's going to be able to throw the ball early and often on this Oakland Raiders secondary, who is the weak link on that defense. They do have a good front 7. They have good pass rushers in Khalil Mack and Aldon Smith when he gets a chance to play, but that secondary really does struggle. And we just talked about Rivers' volume. He's actually been very efficient with that volume as well. He's 9th in fantasy points per passing attempt, which, as we talked about before, you can find on RotoCurve. So given the fact that he's efficient, he's a high-volume passer, and he has a really good matchup, he makes for my top quarterback based on the fact that he's just $8,000. So he gives you some space to spend on some other guys, as he's $1,000 less than the top quarterbacks on FanDuel. So I would consider him for all of my cash games on FanDuel, and I like him in GPPs as well as a stack with maybe Antonio Gates or Keenan Allen if he does play. The 3rd quarterback I wanted to talk about is a cheaper option, and that's Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now, first things first, you're going to think about, why would I pick Fitzpatrick against the Patriots? The Patriots have been unbelievable, and Fitzpatrick really is a fantastic quarterback. Now, both those things are true, but the Patriots' passing offense or defense has not been good. They've allowed 9 touchdown passes in the last 4 games. Now, they did allow 0 touchdown in one game, but that was to Brandon Whedon, so we can throw that out the window. So considering they've allowed more than 2 touchdown passes per game on defense, and the fact that the Jets actually have been pretty good offensively, Ryan Fitzpatrick has averaged more FanDuel points, as you can see here, than Eli, Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, Matthew Stafford, and he just cost $7,100. So if you tie all those things together, based on the fact that the Jets' offense has actually been good with guys like Eric Decker and Brandon Marshall, those guys are able to catch those passes and from Fitzpatrick, and it's actually made him a viable fantasy quarterback. Also, the game script with teams like this is something to look at. Considering the fact that the Jets are likely going to be behind, as the Patriots are heavily favored in this game, Fitzpatrick's going to have more opportunities to throw, which always translates to more FanDuel points. So if you're looking at a cheap GPP quarterback and you don't want to go with the options like Derek Carr or Teddy Bridgewater, Ryan Fitzpatrick is a nice play at his price of just $7,100. That wraps up our Week 7 FanDuel quarterbacks. Thanks for watching, and as always, be sure to give us a thumbs up so we can continue to bring you analysis each and every week. And everything's free over at RotoCurve.com, so be sure to check out the tools, the analysis, and there's a forum full of great daily fantasy players that like to share knowledge and comment back and forth on players they like, they don't like. It's just a great atmosphere over there at RotoCurve, so be sure to go over, sign up. You get some free stuff if you use your Curve points. And as always, let's make this week and the rest of your daily fantasy weeks a very profitable one and a fun one on FanDuel. Good luck, everybody.